What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are doing another podcast, and we will be joined by my good friend Mark, or some of you probably know him as Splitscreen. How are you going, man?
I'm doing very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well as well, thank you. Today we are going to be talking mainly about Fallen Order. Usually, there's a lot of Battlefront stuff involved, but when this goes up, it'll be the day before Fallen Order. And then for most of the world it'll be, I guess, 2 days before. But for those watching, we're recording this 2 weeks before. So
we're 2 weeks and 2 days just before the launch. Yeah.
So there might be some stuff that we say that might end up confirmed or denied or whatever. So just remember that this was from the past when you're watching. Alright, so we're going to jump into the questions, and like I said, starting off with a bit of Fallen Order stuff, and then we'll get into the YouTube. But for Fallen Order, what are you most excited about for the game overall?
Honestly, I got to say, all of it, obviously. It's from the first reveals and all these other things. There's been a lot of information and clips and all these things that have just come out, especially over the last few weeks as well. We've had a ton of information. If I had to narrow it down, though, I'd definitely say the story, though. I think the fact that it's another canon Star Wars story, the time period it's set in, I think it was 5 or so years after Revenge of the Sith, a Jedi who's in hiding comes out of it. I just think, for me, that and the fact that it links in with some of the comics and all these other things as well has got me most excited. Obviously, there's a few other things like the combat and things like that, which should be really interesting, but I think most excited for the story, I've got to say.
Yeah, I'm actually exactly the same there. When they had the first sort of news about the game, and they said that it was set after Order 66, that instant, that was the selling point for me. That's not all it needs to be good, but for me that is probably the best time period in Star Wars in terms of if they're going to make a story. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm probably the exact same. It's just I'm obviously keen for, like you said, a lot of the other stuff, but the story is what I'm really hoping is it turns out to be really decent.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's such a dark period within the universe as a whole as well, we should hopefully be able to see that. And I think part of what made me really enjoy Star Wars Rebels was actually the time period it was set in, obviously a few years before Episode 4, but we got to see almost what it was like as a civilian under the rule of the Empire. So seeing how the Empire grew and all these other things, and how they kind of act on civilians and all these other things, especially towards the start, should be really, really interesting. Yeah,
for sure. Now, moving on to the next question, what are your thoughts on pretty much everything we've seen so far in terms of the gameplay and just the combat and all that type of stuff?
So I think gameplay wise, it looks really interesting actually. I think part of what the gameplay showed us the other week has interested me a lot actually, is the fact that there's all these other platforming and exploration and all these other things that we can kind of go and do and see, because obviously we knew that exploration was going to be a pretty big part of the game from a few months ago, I think, and they've emphasized exploration quite a bit, and how BD1 is going to is an exploration droid and can scan things and all these other lore things that you can go and collect basically. So for me, that's obviously got me really intrigued, because I love exploration. I think the fact that it's almost open world in a sense as well, so that has got me very excited. And then obviously with the gameplay, we saw a lot of these kind of puzzles that we have to play through, and a lot of different platforming things as well, like wall running on Kashyyyk or jumping down this ice slide sort of stuff. It looks really, really cool in that sense as well. Obviously kind of almost like Uncharted, Tomb Raider sort of thing is what they kind of showing their inspiration for, which I think is definitely really interesting. And in terms of the actual Star Wars game as well, it will just provide something unique and different, because we haven't really seen something like that before, I don't think. In terms of the combat though as well, the whole thoughtful combat, is as they're dubbing it as well, has definitely intrigued me a lot. I'm hoping that every decision that we make really matters, and we genuinely do have to think long and hard about what moves we're going to do, and we should hopefully get a few surprises, and hopefully against different types of enemies we'll have to genuinely adapt and fight differently.
Yeah, I think that's coming from Battlefront. It's we need something, a bit more in depth. Not that the combat I mean, the combat's a little bit broken, but in the game, in Battlefront, it kind of works. It's not that bad, but we need something a little bit more in depth and a bit more, like you said, thoughtful. That's probably the best way to describe it, is like actually having to not just button mash and, time your blocks and, counter at the right time and dodge and all that kind of thing. I think that is probably one of the gameplay aspects that has me the most excited. Just having something that's a little bit more, it kind of seems a little bit like God of War in a way. I've heard a lot of like Dark Souls as well. I've only ever played a little bit of Dark Souls, so I'm not too sure on that, but the God of War gameplay was like very, at least on the harder difficulties anyway, it was like very I guess touchy. Like if you made a wrong decision, you would pay for it. So I'm really keen to have that, but like in a Star Wars universe. I think that's going to be really good.
I genuinely do think that would be awesome as well. Like lightsaber fights and just like melee combat against Purge Troopers should be really fun in that sense, because I think quite a bit of what they're saying is if you're getting shot with a stormtrooper, like you've actually seen this in gameplay as well. If you're getting shot at by a stormtrooper, if you're just holding down the block button, then it'll just randomly block and deflect that bullet anywhere. But then if you like time the block right, if you block it like almost like the point of impact, it'll deflect the blaster back at the stormtrooper sort of thing. So it's all those little details that I think will obviously help with the actual thoughtful mechanics that they're kind of going into this with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like looking at some of the gameplay, it has looked, I mean, most of what we have seen is like alpha gameplay, but for me it did look a little bit like clunky at the start.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
I think a lot of people that have played it kind of was saying that they thought the same thing, but then when they played it, it was really different. So that is like kind of promising. Again, we're just going to have to wait and see, really, but that for me is a big sort of point of interest, because it didn't look bad, but when I saw it, it was a bit like I remember that fight with I think it was the first fight with the Purge Trooper in that like original 15-minute gameplay, and it looked just, there was like bits where it looked a little clunky, but from what everyone said, they were like, nah, it's actually really in depth. So hopefully they nail it on the head with that, because I think if this game has really good combat, I think that's going to instantly go a long way to making it a sort of successful game.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of going to be a big selling point for EA as well. The whole combat mechanics and the story, of course, as well, are going to be their two biggest factors with the game.
Yeah, for sure. Now, moving on to the next one, which is kind of touching on that a little bit more. Do you think, I mean, it's hard to say, but looking at what we know so far, do you think this game will be successful, or do you think it's going to be a little bit sort of similar to what the current EA Star Wars games have been?
Yeah, this is where it kind of does get a bit difficult, because I am a little bit skeptical with this, to be honest. Like over the last few months, there was obviously, like, if we go way back to Star Wars Celebration back in April, we obviously got the trailer, we got a few details. Then we didn't really hear anything. It got to EA Play, bang, here's some gameplay for you. And then just a month or two after that, there wasn't really anything. There wasn't that much talk about it. Everything was very much just in the wind and speculation and things like that. And for me, that was not. It wasn't great, really. It didn't seem like EA were marketing the game particularly well at all. But over the last few weeks, they've really stepped things up as well. Obviously, with Triple Force Friday at the start of the month, we got a new trailer with called Cal's Mission. We got a bunch of merchandise for them as well, like the Black Series figures, the Funko Pops as well. So there's that sort of thing. Obviously, on the day of recording this, for me, we got the trailer yesterday. It was pretty much actually about 50 minutes ago yesterday, as of this time, the trailer came out, and we've had just various other details spoken about on Twitter and just put on the website and things. So it seems like EA are really going for it now, but beforehand it just seemed really lackluster. So hopefully that won't really impact too much, but the fact that EA are now going on a bit of a marketing push with the game, I'm hoping that means that the game can be successful. And I saw yesterday that the EA are expecting about 6 to 8 million copies to be sold by the end of March in 2020. So I think that was in the EA earnings call yesterday. So I think that's definitely doable if they keep marketing the game, and when the game comes out, if the reviews are still good, the general consensus around the community is like, oh yeah, combat's really good or story's fun. Obviously, you can't please everyone, but if the game comes out and the community are like, yeah, okay, this is a good game, then I think that the game will be a success for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that last point. I think the landing, I guess you would say, is very important for this game. It has to launch, and like, I think the initial response needs to be really good. If it's even slightly bad, I think, even if it's, it's kind of similar to Battlefront in that there was a lot of drama, but the actual game itself was pretty decent. There was a lot of bugs and stuff like that, but I think if it's another situation like that where the game might be just kind of like, a 6 out of 10, not terrible, not great, and as soon as people start sort of saying that, I think that's going to be really bad for the game. So they need to it needs to have a really good launch, and then I think if it does, like you said, I think that'll, going into Christmas, a lot of kids will probably be asking for it and stuff like that, and maybe they will hit their goal of 6 to 8 million, which that's pretty big if they do that. That's a pretty decent, in 5 months, selling 6 to 8 million.
It is a good amount. I mean, Battlefront 1 from 2015 and Battlefront 2 collectively over the years have sold 33 million copies as well, combined.
Yeah.
So that's a really another interesting fact. But I think it's not necessarily just for the game's sake as well, but if the game launches badly, then it's going to really impact EA as well, because firstly, there's always people going about how EA bad and all these other things. That's just, which can be a little bit frustrating. I get that, you may not like EA and all that stuff, but it's obviously with the launch of Battlefront 2 and how there was the whole loot box issue and all this other bad press, then obviously first impressions aren't everything, because obviously Battlefront 2 is now getting into a much better state than obviously 2 years ago. But if a game like Fallen Order, a single player story game, launches badly, then it's not something that can really pick itself back up. And obviously with EA's reputation as it is anyway, people just aren't going to trust EA with Star Wars games or anything like that, and they'll just want them to stop making Star Wars games, just give it to other people and all these other things that we kind of heard 2 years ago. If the game launches badly, we'll just probably see another repeat of that.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think, it's probably been said for ages, but I think this is like the final straw. If this doesn't go well, I think EA will surely be done with the license, which I'm kind of on the fence with it. I'm not one of the EA haters that hates them, but I also it is kind of frustrating what has happened with the Star Wars gaming. So I'm kind of just on the fence with, I would like them to keep the license and others get it. I don't want them to fully lose it, because then we lose the Frostbite engine and stuff like that. So
yeah,
That's what I've
been kind of thinking about is I genuinely don't have an issue with EA having a Star Wars license, because we've got development studios like DICE and obviously Respawn, BioWare, and all these. They've got so many great development studios under their belt that could really make some solid Star Wars games. But I don't feel like they should have sole rights to the games in a way. I feel like they could, just throw ideas out here, like other big publishers like Ubisoft and all these other people. It would be nice if they kind of had a chance as well. Just because in terms of the actual game as well with Star Wars, it would kind of have a really competitive nature, and all the different studios would be kind of pushing to try and have better games than the other studios. And I just think it could be obviously a competitive environment can be a really successful environment as well. So I just think that would be quite nice to see that in a way.
Yeah, I think that, honestly, I'm not too sure why they solely went with EA. I'm guessing there was just some lucrative deal that they could
Yeah, I imagine it probably was that.
Because when you think about it, it's a pretty, I don't know, it's kind of a dumb thing to do, especially for, what was it, a 10-year contract. That's pretty, I don't know. There's so many other companies out there that can do just as well, and that's the thing. It doesn't, by opening it up to everyone, it doesn't exclude EA either, so they can, they can still make their games. And then, yeah, like you said, Ubisoft, or there's countless studios that could be working on stuff as well. And then we'd have, you know, Battlefront, and we'd have whatever else there is. So for me, that's the main reason I want the game to succeed, other than just I want it to be fun. Obviously, I think most people do, but
yeah, of course.
I think like a lot of people want EA to be gone, and I do understand it, and I wouldn't be completely mad if they are, you know, left out of the contract. But the way I want it is I want it to be open to everyone. So I hope it succeeds, and then I'm sure even if it does succeed, surely they won't just sign on with another, you know, 10-year contract that's only EA. I'm sure they'll probably, or at least I hope they will learn their lesson. But yeah, for me, that's the main thing. I just want it to be successful enough that it can just not burn bridges, essentially.
Yeah, of course. I mean, going back to that point as well, is that, again, in the EA earnings call yesterday, it was said that another Star Wars game is in development. They didn't say any specifics, like what studio is developing it, but there is apparently another game for Star Wars which should be out by before April 2022. So basically got a couple of years, and we might well see another Star Wars game come out. So that's definitely interesting, but I feel like if Fallen Order launches and it doesn't go well, then we'll either won't see that happen, or we'll just start seeing other people, like when their contract is up, we'll see other studios come in, which I'm kind of hoping like we'll see other studios come in anyway, because I mean, although Disney has said that their relationship with EA is good, or the other way around, can't remember now, but there's obviously a lot of possibilities, and I think it'd be really interesting to see where the situation is at actually in 2023, when either the contract will get like, you know, will end anyway, and we'll see if it gets renewed and what happens with the situation then, really.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think for EA's sort of, for them, this is really is do or die. If this fails, then they may as well just sort of cancel the contract right now, because
yeah.
I just can't see them signing back on, unless, like I said, it's like an open deal or whatever. But yeah, having three, I wouldn't say the Battlefront games have been complete failures, but that's from us on the inside. From the outside, they probably are seen as failures, and then if this is another one, 3 failed Star Wars games, I just can't see it turning around from there.
Mm-hmm. No, of course. It wouldn't be a good place to be in at all.
No, for sure. Now, moving on to the next one, and this is a bit of a tough one. What are 3 things that sort of haven't been confirmed, or, you know, that we don't know of yet, that you would love to see in Fallen Order?
Yeah, so this is definitely something that's kind of it's a difficult subject, really, because there's one thing I've kind of thought about, which would be very much post-launch. Obviously, it's not something I expect to see in launch at all. I know it's not going to be in launch, and I really don't ever expect to see this like at all. But I just think it'd be really interesting if we got some sort of dueling mode, like some sort of multiplayer duels thing. Like it could just be a 1v1 or 2v2, where you get to play as characters from the story or whatever. And I just think if we saw some sort of multiplayer aspect, further down the line, if the game goes well, then if it develops a, you know, really quick sort of like 1 versus 1 multiplayer experience where you're just versing other online players in, you know, obviously dueling, I feel like with the thoughtful combat mechanics and all these other things, that could actually be a really fun experience for players. And obviously that means, yeah, okay, you've hopefully got this long story that you can go and explore through, but then also adding a little bit of multiplayer, I think, would open the doors to a lot more potential in terms of customers and also just people playing the game for longer. That's something I again, like I said, I don't ever expect to see that, but I just think it'd be really interesting if we did kind of have that.
Yeah, I think that would be. I kind of go to For Honor for like thinking of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, just like you could just have some sort of 2v2 dueling mode, which, yeah, I reckon that's actually a really cool idea.
Yeah, I think that would be something, and like you said, For Honor is kind of exactly where I got my inspiration of, actually. I guess if there was another thing I'd like to see as well, is hopefully more planets. Obviously, we know we're going to be able to explore quite a bit of all these other planets. We know about 4 or 5 at the moment, I think. So it's like Dathomir, Zepho, Bracca, and Kashyyyk, I think, are the only 4 we know about so far. But I'm just hoping that we get kind of 6 or more planets, to be honest, because the worry I have is that the story, in terms of like the actual storyline itself, that could be quite short if it was only on like 4 to 5 planets. But if we went and saw like 6 or more planets, I think that'd be really interesting. I just think it'd be awesome as well, because it just hopefully just give players a lot more to do in the game as well. Because if we saw, like, if we did see 8 planets, for example, and Respawn have said that like it's about a 50-50 split between new planets and old planets that are already in the universe, I think that would be amazing to be able to just fully explore all these locations. And in the pre-order bonuses, there's like Magito campaign lightsaber hilt and Umbaran campaign lightsaber hilt. So if we saw those planets on the game as well, and then like 2 new ones as well, then if we had like 8 planets as well, that would be amazing. Honestly, I think 6 minimum I'd like to see, but anything above that would be a dream come true, to be honest. Like being able to fully explore these places, loads of different lore being added to the Star Wars universe as well, for me is something I'd really like to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think I actually mentioned that in a video, which, as we're recording this, it doesn't. In fact, it actually goes up in like 4 hours. But yeah, I said pretty much the exact same thing. I think I said I'd like to see 6 or 7 planets, like minimum. So yeah, I'm pretty much on the same boat. I think it's, you know, let's just say the story is, I don't know, maybe this is too long, but say 20 hours, if we can expect something like that. If it's on 4 planets, say 5 hours per planet or whatever, I think that won't be as enjoyable as if it was on 6 planets, because then you're just not seeing as much, you know, different
absolutely.
scenery and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's a big one for me too, actually, is the planets.
Yeah, I mean, something with obviously the game changers going to play the game 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, it was. So the game changers, I think Azatru was playing on Zepho. They got 3 hours of game time. Azatru was on Zepho for the whole 3 hours and apparently didn't explore the whole thing. Like, he was far from it. So I have no doubt that these planets are going to be huge environments that we can explore. But I kind of want, you know, obviously like we were saying, 6, 7 or 8 planets would be ideal, or just anything above that would be great, because in terms of the actual story itself, we could maybe see, yeah, like you say, around 20 hours would be, like, if it was 20 hours, that'd be amazing, honestly. But if that was just you playing through the storyline itself, but then if we had all these big environments that we can explore, all these different lore objects that we can go and scan and collect, and all these other things, that just pushes the game time right up. So if we see that, then yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And what about a third thing?
Something, it's actually just popped up into my head actually. There's obviously the whole dismemberment thing. This isn't something I'm too worried about, but we know like we'll get dismemberment on droids and like animal creatures and stuff like that. But I just feel like if we saw it on stormtroopers, that would be really cool. You know, it's not something I'm pushing for really, but if we saw that would be really cool. The main thing I was thinking of now though is perhaps the ability to learn dark side force powers, maybe. Like, we know you're playing as a Jedi and all that stuff, but I think it would be really interesting if we were able to kind of almost go like a Force Unleashed route and be able to learn various different abilities. Actually, going back to the Jedi Academy games as well, Kyle Katarn, the character you play as in there, got to use like force push, pull, heal, but then he also got to use like lightning and choke and all these things. I think that would be really cool if we got to see that. Yeah,
that would actually be really cool. I'm wondering, like, just because it's canon and all that, I'm wondering if that is possible. But I would love to see something like that, just to kind of vary everyone's gameplay a little bit.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If we added in dark side force powers in terms of the actual gameplay as well, that will change things around a lot more as well. But yeah, like you say, if it's kind of like a canon thing, then they may not be able to do it. But if they can, then I think that would be actually really cool if we saw that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, on the other side of that, what are 3 things that aren't confirmed that you really don't want to see in the game?
Now, this is where I struggled quite a bit actually. It's kind of something we've mentioned already, but I don't want to see a short story. If we only saw like 4 to 5 planets, then I'd be worried very much that the story itself is actually relatively short. And if you're just trying to play through the story like continuously, not giving yourself time to explore or anything like that, then I feel like if it was on 4 to 5 planets, we could see a short story. So, if, like we were saying again, if we had like 7 or 8 planets, then I feel like the story could obviously flesh out a lot more, and yeah, that would be better. So I guess So just I don't want to see a short story. Basically, that's the main thing.
Yeah. What about the next? What about the next two?
This is where I struggle the most. Oh god, I'm trying to think at the top of my head as
If
well.
you don't have any, that's fine, because it is a pretty tough question.
I just, for me, the story is obviously just such an important part. Gameplay wise as well is really important. I just kind of hope we see, as long as we see kind of regular kind of checkpoints as well. Like, if that's such a small thing, but if you're kind of in a situation where you're trying to jump onto this platform that you're really struggling with, but to get there you have to cross this other slightly less difficult bit, but something that can be really annoying. If we're able to just like quick save or checkpoint sort of thing, that would be great. So obviously if you die, you don't want to have to keep going over that one part again and again. So I just think something like that would be interesting. I think that's actually their meditation points as well, which I think are the checkpoints. So you probably don't see them too often, but it's just kind of my main worry, I suppose, really is just all these like platforming things that you can do. Obviously they're meant to challenge you, which I totally understand, and I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine, but I guess if some people are really struggling with them, then there's going to have to be perhaps some way they can try and get around it, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's for most people, that's like a big sort of turn off for any game, is if it's like, yeah, we all want a challenge, but if it's like becomes tedious, that's just never fun. If you have to just redo something over and over again, even if, say, like if you're on the lowest setting and you still have to redo it over and over, that's like just not fun. No one wants to do that. So yeah, I'm kind of the same.
I mean, that's where the force slow ability comes into play, because obviously they're introducing that new ability to the cannon. Obviously you'll be able to slow down stormtroopers or bullets, or the platforms you're trying to like traverse over. So in a way, I don't think that should be too bad, because your whole force slow ability. But again, some things will be tedious, and I don't really want to see like they did confirm this, so but I'll just throw it out there anyway. I don't want to see different like platforming type of things repeat over several planets, really, because if we saw that, then again the game would just get repetitive. I want to see new challenges come to each, like with each planet you go to. I want to see new creatures, new challenges presented to us as well. So, because otherwise the game would just get so repetitive really fast.
Yeah, especially like that's a good point. Across, if you have like the same sort of puzzle on 2 different planets, that's just like one that doesn't really make sense, and two, it just kind of becomes repetitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this is another kind of tough question. Do you think, obviously there's a couple of characters like Saw Gerrera, and I'm pretty sure Tarful was the Wookiee that we see in the gameplay, the first gameplay. Obviously there's a couple of characters that we kind of know. Do you think that we will see any other big names like Vader and Palpatine and people like that?
Yeah, I definitely think we will. I mean, in terms of, I think if we'll start with Palpatine, I don't think we'll really see him, but obviously we saw in the first trailer, he had the whole Execute Order 66 hologram. So obviously just seeing that for me would be enough in terms of Palpatine, but I think if we saw some sort of cameo appearance from him, that could be really interesting. Or just a name, so something like a name drop would be really cool. But in terms of actually like physically seeing them, I think Vader is someone you could definitely see in the, I think it was the 3rd trailer, the Cal's Mission one. That's the 2nd trailer, sorry. In the Cal's Mission trailer, I'm pretty sure we do hear Vader's breathing at some point.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll definitely see Vader, because just because of that, I think we'll definitely see Vader at some point in the game. Whether it's just a really quick, cameo, or if it's like an actual boss fight sort of thing, then that would be awesome if we saw Vader. In terms of other big characters, I think Yoda could be interesting as well. Obviously, if Cal's going to be like a Jedi who is, on the run from the Empire, learning his way through the Force again, I think if Yoda just appeared like he did to Ezra in Rebels, then that would be really cool if we saw that.
Another one that I've heard as well, which I didn't think of, but because Dathomir is confirmed, and I'm not too sure if it exactly ties into the timeline, but I've heard a lot of people saying that Maul could make an appearance. I don't know if I think it will happen, but like it is possible. There's no reason that it can't. So, what are your thoughts on that happening?
I definitely think I completely forgot about that. So, kind of going back to that now, I think that could be really, really interesting. I think in terms of the timeline, in terms of where Solo is in the timeline and where this game is actually in, I think it could work because apparently, I think someone said Fallen Order was like, only like 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. And I think in terms of Maul, like where Solo's not too long after Revenge of the Sith either, and obviously with
I think
Maul's
it was 8 years.
Yeah, exactly. So if Maul set up Crimson Dawn and got all these things at that point, he said to Kira at the end of Solo, like bring the ship like to Dathomir, and we'll be working a lot more closely. So I think Maul could definitely be on Dathomir. Obviously, we know we're going to be fighting against like Night Sisters and Night Brothers all at some point on the planet, which is really awesome. Actually, when I heard that made me really happy. But I think seeing Maul could definitely be a possibility because I think in terms of the timeline, it does work for Maul being on Dathomir at the time. So whether we see him or whether it's just like a cameo sort of thing again, I think for me, in terms of big characters, it'll be more about these cameo appearances that we'll see more often. But if we saw Maul at some point, then yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think you had a good point about like them being more of just a quick appearance because like surely Cal isn't going to fight Maul and Vader because that's just that kind of just seems weird to me. So I think it would be like I wouldn't be against it. Like if we got to fight Maul, like I would love that. But
I think
it just doesn't really make sense. So I agree. I think if we do see any characters, I just think they'll most likely be a cameo unless it's like I don't know, unless the last boss is Vader and you just can't survive or something like that. Maybe that'll be the case, but I still don't think. I think he'd be more like I think if we saw Vader, it would be like, it kind of the story follows, the second sister and she goes to, she's maybe lost Cal and she goes back to Vader and sort of gets more training or something like that. Maybe seeing him just in like a few cutscenes or whatever. I think that's possible, but yeah, seeing him as like an actual character in the game, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there, to be fair. I feel like if he was going to have some sort of fight against Vader, I mean, Vader at that point, he's still going to be insanely powerful. So I feel like if
just
Cal
straight away.
Well, that's the thing. Like he'd probably destroy Cal at that point. So I can't really see it working in that way because I wouldn't want to see Cal like damage or defeat Vader because that just to me that would be a bit like guys, come on, this is Vader for God's sake. We just keep seeing him getting battered and bruised, but if we saw him in a cutscene, that would be a lot better. Or even if it was like, I think another thing, if we saw a Vader fight at the end of the game and Vader essentially killed Cal, then it's kind of like, well, you're obviously still going to be able to play the game and explore these other planets, do these other like side quests sort of things or whatever. So I just feel like in terms of how they end the game on that note, in terms of story, I don't really know what they'll do there, to be fair, but could be, I guess we'll just have to wait and see really, but I just don't think a Vader fight would work.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only way I can see it working is if like you fight and then he's like destroying you and then you just sort of run away. That's the only thing I can see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like you said, if Vader kills, I mean, we don't know what the end's going to be like, but if Vader kills you and then you obviously can't keep roaming around the planets and stuff, so I'm going to assume the game will end with Cal still alive and you get to go and look around for stuff, but I mean, who knows?
I mean, even if it was like at the end of the game Cal died anyway, then obviously just for the sake of the game and the exploration and everything you can do, like you'll obviously still be able to play as Cal roaming around and all that stuff. But I just think, I feel like Cal surviving at the end I think would be quite nice, but then it's just like what happens afterwards, and I guess that could potentially lead to another Fallen Order, because the way the title plays out, it's like Star Wars Jedi, and then it's Fallen Order. So just the way it worked, like the way it's kind of titled, to me just kind of seems like it could be done in a series in a way.
Yeah, I actually think the same thing. I think like it could be, this one could be Fallen Order because he's obviously, the Jedi Order has fallen. That's kind of obvious. But then the next one could be like, I don't know, Star Wars Jedi Rise of the Order or something, and it might be Cal like bringing it back to life, or something like that. So I do think there is the possibility for a sequel, and that in that case, obviously Cal probably needs to live. But yeah, it's hard to guess what's going to happen at this point. We don't even know anything at all. So
yeah, I mean, for me, it's just the fact that it says it's Star Wars Jedi : Fallen Order. To me, it's just that colon that's like, hang on, yeah, okay, this could be a series maybe. And ever since the title first got revealed, I've been thinking that, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Now, moving on to, this is kind of like a in-between question from Fallen Order and YouTube. Are you going to be making Fallen Order content, and if so, what type of content are you sort of hoping to make?
Yeah, so I definitely will be, and I was kind of hoping to do it before the game comes out anyway, to be honest. I think, just having this conversation here, there's like quite a lot of ideas just coming out here and there. So I think I will definitely, over the next couple of weeks before launch, just kind of actually make a video on what I hope to see, what I don't want to see, sort of thing, and really just kind of digest all these other things and what I kind of would like to see. I think that would be really interesting. Once the game goes live, though, I don't know specifically. I want to do a playthrough of it, but I don't know whether to stream that or do a video series on it. Something I am really keen to do, though, is actually kind of dive into the actual lore of the game, because we know we're going to be able to explore all these different things. We're going to be able to scan each creature, and I think there hopefully will be some sort of lore library that we can kind of go and check out each planet and be like, oh hey, these are the creatures in the planet. Here's a bit of information on them and all these things. So I think it'd be really interesting to kind of have a video series for the lore. So it's like, I'll do a lore series on Kashyyyk, and if it depends on how much there is, I suppose. If there's like loads of creatures, then I'll be like, and loads of different other lore objects that you can get, then I'll do a series for like lore of Kashyyyk, and then today's video will be on the creatures of it, and then kind of go through each creature that we see in the game, talk about them a little bit. I think that's my go-to thing at the moment, as well as a playthrough of some sort. But then I think when the game comes out and I've kind of experienced it a bit, I'll obviously do a review, and then again, depending on what sort of things you can do in the game, I'll obviously make some other videos there and then, really. But in terms of main content I want to do at the moment, is that I definitely want to do that lore series, but apart from that, I'm struggling to kind of think of a few ideas, really. But hopefully over the next few weeks they'll kind of just pop up, really.
Yeah, I think it's I kind of had the same issue where, I mean, I've thought of a bunch of ideas, but it's hard to actually pinpoint what you want to do, because we just don't know enough about the game. So it is hard, but I think once it drops, it's going to be you'll probably play the first hour and be like, oh Jesus, there's so many videos to make. So
of course.
It's kind of hard to guess now, but yeah, I think there's plenty of stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, even with Battlefront, I still sometimes really struggle with ideas of what to do. I mean, I've always had the odd idea here and there, but in terms of different types of videos and having that creativity sometimes is a big struggle for me, actually. So hopefully with Fallen Order I can kind of dive into that a little bit more, and it'll just help me out and just kind of obviously give me a bit more leeway with Battlefront 2, because it can be really tough, for me at least, trying to just pump out all these different Battlefront 2 videos, try and make them different and stuff like that. So yeah, should be good.
Yeah, I agree. It's 2 years after the game, it does get hard to think about what to make. So I think a new game, that's kind of what I'm most excited about, honestly, is just some new less I don't know, stressful videos to make. There's just so many options that are going to be there. So because for me, I'm the same. It's one of the most, I don't know if stressful is the right word, but one of the hardest parts for me is coming up with the ideas, I'll often just sit there for like hours being like, all right, what am I going to make this week? So I think now, like, when this drops, there's just going to be, I could probably list like 50 videos that I can make. So I think that's just going to be a nice little change up.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, moving on to more of the YouTube stuff, when did you start your channel and why did you start it?
So I start, like, the actual, like, everything was initially set up on August 23rd, 2017. I can remember that day, like, incredibly clearly. Why, I don't know. I guess it was just an important day, but I kind of streamed for about a month or so and stopped after. I think I stopped, like, my last stream was when I did the beta for the game. I literally streamed it for 7 hours straight, and then after that never streamed again until January 19th, 2018. And since then I haven't looked back since. But in terms of like why I started, really, I just had like Battlefront 2, I was so excited for it, and I was literally like, my brother would be lying on his bed quite a lot, and I'd literally just be sat next to him, like my back against the wall on the floor, and I'd just be like coming up with all the other ideas of what could be in a game and what I really want to see, and like, oh my god, what if they did this? And I was just so excited for that. And I used to watch Star Wars HQ a lot as well, and obviously with them being identical twins as well, it's just like that. I think that was just really cool anyway. So in terms of like watching Star Wars HQ be where they are and just excitement for the game, it's kind of something that I really wanted to be able to kind of show my passion for as well. And then I kind of already had the idea a few years ago of maybe trying YouTube and seeing how that goes anyway. But with that kind of idea planted in my head a few years back to the excitement of Battlefront 2 as well, that just like all that together just kind of really gelled into it. And was like, I'm going to start a channel, let's do this sort of thing. And just, yeah, I haven't looked back since, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that sort of same thing where it's just like a kind of like, you want to do it for years and then like, but you just kind of don't bother, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, you know what, I'm actually going to do it. And it's definitely a good feeling when you actually go ahead with it and then it starts to work out.
Absolutely. I mean, I tried like 4 years ago, like I haven't actually told anyone around the YouTube community before, but like around 4 years ago I actually like posted a few Drive Club videos. I don't know if you ever played Drive Club at all.
I think I've seen. I don't think I've actually played it, but I've seen it anyway.
Yeah, so I posted like 2 videos of that, like just me driving around the track, kind of commentating, like just a little bit. It's just like that's kind of when I started. My brother did the same actually as well. But after that we kind of just stopped. But we did like 2 videos each, and then we stopped and like deleted the channels and all that stuff anyway. Like that's long gone. But I think now that we were able to, because it was initially with me and my brother who started up the channel, but with him having A-level exams and going into his job that he's now got, it obviously time was very short on his side, so he's like stopped doing that pretty early on. But yeah, like being able to stream and kind of meet everyone over a period of time, it's just been incredible, because like the support as well from the whole community is just incredible as well. It's crazy, and it just kind of goes to show that the time that I've put in over the last year and a half now is like really paying off.
Yeah, for sure. It's I think when everyone starts, it kind of like, you always think to yourself like, oh, is this like even worth me doing? Like, am I just wasting my time? But it's good to, I know exactly what you mean. It's good to like finally, you kind of hit that moment when you're just like, oh, this is actually, even if I never grow anymore, like it's already worth it. So it's kind of good to hear you're in the same spot as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had, like, the last year has been pretty difficult, because there's always been like moments where I've had to take a ton of time off or whatever. Like earlier this year, I think between April and May, like I streamed very inconsistently, and a few videos like went out maybe, I think. But in terms of growth, like growth wise, was literally nothing. Like, you know, the stat there's obviously the last 28 days subscriber gain, that at one point was actually on -1, and it was like a really tough time earlier this year. But then things started to kind of go back up again, and then it fell really short again late in the summer. But So like August was very quiet as well, I think. But since I started my new schedule back in like mid-September, like it started off a bit shaky, but as time's gone on, like a week later till now, I've almost gone up like 100 subs in about 6-7 weeks, which for me is like absolutely insane, really. So it's now, with this schedule, it's going in a really good place, and hopefully over the next few years I can get somewhere even higher, because this is something I'd like to be able to go and do full time in the future. But obviously just got to keep on grinding and, you know, keep on pushing your way through it, really.
Yeah, for sure. Touching on that more, what, like, when you started, what were your initial goals for the channel?
Yeah, I mean, the initial goals were always to be able to go full time with it. Honestly, it's like I said, seeing Styles HQ, you know, two identical twins with big passion for Styles and gaming, it like really resonated with me. I was like, you know, I really want to be able to go and do this, because like Styles is my biggest passion, and being able to kind of full time like stream and make videos and really engage with people who also are in a similar situation was, like, initially was just amazing. And to be able to meet initially, like when I first started off, really early on, I was able to meet Benji, and then that turned into GN, and as time went on, I went on to meet you, Twisted, and various other people. And I'm now in that like, to be fair, I'm already in a situation where I've actually met I've met so many people who are in a similar situation to me, you know, big passion for Star Wars, you know, making YouTube content, streaming, all these other things. So for the most part, I'm actually already where I want to be. It's just being able to go full time now is the ultimate goal, really. So if over, like, even if it took 4 or 5 years to actually get into a place where I'm actually starting to see that, then yeah, that'd be incredible. Because I mean, you've been going for a year and a half. I think you actually started a bit after me, actually.
Yeah, I think it was like April of 2018. So yeah, like almost exactly 18 months, actually.
Yeah, so you've been going for about a year and a half now, and you're on, as of this, like 33k. Like, that's mind blowing, you know. Like, last year, it's crazy. And it's like, for me, it's so good to see that as well, because obviously you work so hard, you know, the quality of your content is so up there as well, you know. So it's kind of like, for me, it's like, right, I've got this schedule, I really want to put that into place, I want to work longer and harder on these videos and get them to a better quality. I know it's not going to happen in a day, but I want to be able to start learning things better and just slowly incorporate that into the videos, and hopefully at some point, you know, I'll be able to be in a situation where I am seeing higher growth and being able to maybe go full time, like after I've finished my uni course in like 4 years time, or whenever I finish it, because in college at the moment for another year, and then next September hopefully I'll be starting a degree course, which is 3 years, so I'll ultimately be finishing that no matter what. But if I can consistently go and do YouTube and see some good growth, then who knows what's going to happen in 3-4 years time, you know.
Yeah, I think that, like, that's honestly exactly the attitude that I think most people should have. It's like, you don't want to make it your main focus when you're so small. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone wants to. Like, I wanted to just quit my job and just do it, even when I was, you know, had like 100 subs, but you just kind of can't. But I think doing it alongside, like, uni, or even if you're working or whatever, doing it alongside that, and just, yeah, putting in those hours, it really does, like, I think, like, a lot of people say there's luck involved with YouTube, but I honestly think if you work hard, it will just, it will just happen. There is a bit of luck that, like, your videos have to get found by people, but at the end of the day, I think everyone gets luck at some point, and if you haven't put in the work, that luck isn't going to go anywhere. But if you do put in the work, when that luck comes, I think that's when, you know, the real channels will sort of rise to the top, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. No, I totally agree. And the fact that I'm actually, you know, for ever since last October to now, and over the next like 3-4 years, I'm going to be studying, like, at the moment it's just like games design in general, so it's a ton of various different game related stuff. But then when I go onto the uni course, it'll be more focused on game art as well. But because I'm learning and doing courses on games as well, like, for me to go alongside with YouTube as well, it's like such a perfect combination for me. So it's just like that determination I can just go and put into both, and creativity will just flow on both ends, and it's just really exciting for me, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm kind of the same. It's not so much, there's a little bit of game design, but it's mainly just like the graphic design and stuff. And yeah, I think that's
absolutely.
like helped the channel just doing that. I originally just wanted to do it, just, to be qualified and just do that for a job. But then once I started, I was like, wow, like if I can combine both of these and do it as a job, like that would be amazing. So I think you've got the right idea there.
Yeah, with the whole like graphic design as well, like you can really see that in your videos as well. I remember when you're doing the kind of updated hero guides, when you were first like teasing that off with, I think it was Obi-Wan, you had this graphic on the side and it showed his health bar, and like you like custom made like the portrait, the health bar, all these other things on the side of the screen. It was like, damn, this is like, you can tell you've put in a lot of work into this. So having the graphic design side of thing and then being able to put that in YouTube as well, like, has worked out so well. So obviously being able to go on a games course and all these or graphic design or whatever, in terms of actually creating the videos, I guess it might put you at an advantage because you kind of know these things, you might be able to do them quicker. But obviously it doesn't necessarily mean you will be able to go and do it full time in the future. It's just kind of, it definitely helps us quite a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you said earlier, it's all just about, I think, just putting in the work. And yeah, like I think everyone, I mean, some people might be unlucky, but I think like most people will get that luck where you'll just have a video that like blows up, and if you put a lot of effort into the video that happens to blow up, then like you'll sort of reap the rewards. But if that happens to just be a normal like shitty video that you haven't sort of put effort into, I think that's when people, they kind of, I think they don't get any luck because nothing happens of it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree.
Now, what are your 3 favourite things about having the channel?
I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that I get to talk to and communicate with all these other people around the world, because I mean, obviously I'm in England, you're in Australia, we're completely other opposite ends of the world, but because of having the channel, I've got to know you and just people all across the world, and it's been amazing to be able to kind of talk and make friends with people all over the place, because it's something I'd never really thought about before. And for the last few years, all my friends have been very close to home, but being able to having this channel, streaming, I get to know people. I've got a lot of friends now like across Europe, in America, Australia, and it's such an amazing thing to have. And having that side of YouTube as well, it's such an amazing experience as well, just to be able to know people from across the globe is just got to be my favorite thing, honestly. It's got to be.
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of other things, I think it's just it's led me to having the channel, like starting it up. It's really the fact that I started to stream Battlefront a lot, daily, and make videos for it. It's kind of really ignited the passion for games again, and like in terms of actually like making games as well. It's something that having this channel has really helped me really want to do. And I think now, like, because of the channel, if I was going to go onto the games course and didn't have the channel, then I don't think I'd still really want to work hard on it, but I don't think I'd be as passionate. But because I've got the two of them together now, it's, again, that for me, it works so nicely together that it just allows me to like be passionate, work hard, and take things over from both pieces, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like a perfect combination, really, of like
absolutely
learning and creating something as well.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm going to be, the fact that I'm learning about games as well is I'll know more about them, and I think in terms of like reviewing things and helping out, like just giving feedback as well, it will make things more constructive as well. So that's definitely another thing. And then I guess I don't know what the third thing would really be, because obviously there's so many great things about it, and I had it in my head like a minute ago and I've just lost it now, which is really annoying. But I just think having it kind of ties in with the first one, really, but just kind of having that kind of social media presence as well. Obviously I'm on Twitter a lot, and I'm now at a stage on I'm now kind of at a stage in terms of the channel as well where I'm really happy with it, and I'm people know me a little bit, which is nice, and just being able to be on Twitter as well is just such a nice thing to do, because initially, like I said, I was very sheltered to kind of where I am in terms of the home, but being on the internet and people knowing you from across the world it's a really nice thing as well, and it kind of actually like makes me feel important, and people might need to talk to me on a regular basis about various things, and just being there for others as well. Like people, there's a few people, I won't obviously say anything, but sometimes people might be going through a hard time, and because they know me, they might feel safe to come and talk to me, and I'm always like there if someone is going through a hard time. So being able to help other people as well in that sense as well, it's just such a rewarding and experience and a really good feeling, to be honest.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people on like the outside don't really sort of think about that, but I know exactly what you mean. It's like when I started this, it kind of, you don't think like, you're just like, oh, I'm making videos, like who cares what I do? But a lot of people really do care, and they, like you said, they, someone will go through a hard time, and like you're the one that they message out of all the people in the world. They're like coming to you, and that's like it's like a really humbling and nice feeling to know that people are like, they actually feel that close to you, even though they've never met you. It's a nice, like, it kind of makes you feel good in a way that like you actually, like, what we do is actually meaningful, because sometimes you just think like, oh, I'm making gaming videos like in my bedroom, like, is this really like worth it?
I mean for so many people, if you describe YouTube as like making videos in your bedroom and putting them online, like loads, for so many people, I'd just be like why, like what's the point? But then like being in the situation we're in now, and like people actually like genuinely enjoy and appreciate your content and actually want to get to know you as a person as well, it just genuinely feels like we're, it makes us like feel loved and important, and it's just such a great feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Now this next question is kind of hard now that I think of it. It was kind of just a follow-up, but now that I actually look at it, it's pretty hard. What are your 3 least favourite things about having a channel? I don't even know if there's really 3, so maybe just say 1 if you...
So the main thing is YouTube being a pain in the arse. The fact that it's really frustrating, because they don't well, it's like with YouTube how they don't really what's the word, it's like if you upload daily and all these things, sometimes the algorithm just won't really like reward you for that. So obviously it's great to be able to take breaks and all that thing, but depending on whether you want to upload daily or just randomly if you can, the algorithm doesn't support that, which is frustrating in a way, because sometimes people won't be able to be as consistent as they want to be, and all these things. Like if you want to upload 4 times a week, but for the most part you'll be able to do it, but for some weeks you might not be able to. It's a frustrating thing, because the algorithm just won't necessarily support that so well, so that growth might be quite difficult. So in that sense it's really frustrating, because some of my earlier time on YouTube has been very inconsistent, and it doesn't, because the algorithm doesn't really support that, it has been like a really tough time in that sense. So I guess like a piece of advice, I suppose, really would just be to kind of come up with a schedule like you can really hit, to be honest. Even if it was just like 2 videos a week, if you can hit that, then that would be better than just like randomly putting out 4 videos a week at random different times and all these other things, because YouTube just doesn't really support that. So I guess that's like the least favourite thing, really, just YouTube's pain in the arse algorithm, really.
Yeah, I think that the other thing I don't like about it is that I was talking to a few of the guys in my Discord about this the other day too. I think a lot of the times it rewards not just like clickbait, but just that type of thing, like clickbait, or the 10-minute videos and stuff like that, more than it rewards like hard work and actual quality stuff. And that's absolutely. Like, that is very frustrating, because you almost sometimes just think like, should I even bother doing all this editing and just make some shit video that goes for 10 minutes and like I'll get more views from it? Do you know what I mean?
It's
hard to like fight that demon sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, like, obviously thumbnails and titles are really important in terms of, like, gaining impressions and all these other things, and, you know, I can understand it, but it's just the whole clickbait, the whole clickbait thing is just so frustrating, because you see some channels out there who clickbait quite a lot, or might mildly clickbait, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, I know you're going to be getting the views, and you're going to be getting the money from it, but it's just like... And yeah, to be fair, like they're going to be big incentives to go and do that. But I just don't like from a moral standpoint. That's what really frustrates me, is because I try my very best not to clickbait in any way whatsoever. So I really hope I never do, and it's not something I want to do. Yeah, okay, it might get you some clicks and all these things, but honestly, like it's just not. For me, it's not morally right to do that. So it's just seeing loads of channels like succeed because of it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like seeing someone, you know, let's say you have like some like office job or something, and you're the one putting in the hard work, but then there's this guy who's just like always sucking up to the boss, and he's like just doing like the little shortcuts to succeed, and you're the one actually working. That's like kind of how it feels sometimes. And it's not, at the end of the day, I think it's like, I think most channels that do that eventually, like, it'll bite them in the ass, because I think people start catching on, and you know, it'll end up bad. But it's still frustrating to see people doing better than you are, that like you kind of, I think like everyone knows they don't deserve it. And especially like for guys, I always say this about like about guys like you and Nivo, that you guys deserve so many more subs than so many other channels, and it's just frustrating because like it's just so hard to get that to happen, because that's not how YouTube works.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that as well, and it is, like you say, it's very difficult. But you know, clickbait's the way. You know, it's just it sucks. I mean, it's like a big example is Fortnite. My word, the amount of clickbait for Fortnite is just so stupid. I mean, when there was the YouTube gaming app, I'd go onto it and look at the Fortnite tab, and you see all these streams, and the amount of people that had like, oh, Fortnite event soon, or like saying like the volcano was going to explode when like it was nowhere near an end of a season or something like that. It was just ridiculous, and they're all doing it because they think they can get quick, like they think they can get like really big really quick as well, and for some people it works. And the whole Fortnite V-Buck giveaways and things like that, I just don't like it. I really don't.
Well, I mean, we could go on for days.
We could, yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just so frustrating to see. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's really nothing we can do about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the last question on the list is, what keeps you motivated to keep on grinding away at the channel?
So yeah, I mean, going back to the earlier point, the main motivator is definitely to be able to go full time is a big thing for me, because it's something I'd honestly love to be able to do. If I was able to talk about, like with this main channel as well, because obviously I've got the second one, which I haven't really done a huge amount on recently, but I will pick that up again. With this main channel, if I was able to just talk about Star Wars, play games on it, like stream on a regular basis and all these things, if I was able to do that full time alongside the second channel where I streamed like, you know, just random games like Call of Duty and other stuff, then it would just be incredible if I was able to just do that for a living and be able to engage with so many people and have all these different opportunities in the future to be, you know, perhaps at some point be able to go and test games early, provide feedback and all these things. Like for me, it's genuinely such a big thing. Like if I was able to do that, it'd just be incredible, honestly. And another another thing again is just engaging with everyone and seeing everyone's like positive comments as well. Like if a video I put out there, whether it does really well or not, if I have a comment and someone says, you know, great video or really enjoyed this sort of thing, then that is like, for me, that's just great, because it genuinely like makes me want to keep on going. And like with my Battlefront 2005 series as well, like with the mod series, I had on my last one, I think I had someone say that they're really enjoying this series and they want to keep it going. So seeing those comments for me just really drives forward and just allows me to really kind of willingly go and do that, you know.
Yeah, I think that's, for me, that's like what everyone's motivation should be. I think there's a lot of people that are motivated by the wrong things, like money and fame and stuff like that. And like you said, you know, you said you wanted to go full time. I think that's kind of different, because that's like, if that's going to be your like passion and your goal, then it's different. But it's kind of different than just being like, oh, I just want to be rich or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You kind of list like some actual reasons and stuff.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Like, people, you know, there's people motivated to do YouTube by the money, and there's obviously people motivated to do it full time.
And obviously, being able to do it full time and for the money, it's very similar, because it's obviously money related. But some people like want to just get rich quick sort of thing. They think it's really easy to do. But I don't care like how big the channel gets, and I don't care how much. You know, I don't ever expect to be earning these millions that people like KSI are going to be earning per year, sort of thing. But like, just, you know, even if it was just like just being able to go full time would be a dream come true. Like if it was, I don't even know, like just a random number, let's say, even if it was like 25,000 a year, that's not a huge amount, but that being like having that like kind of under your belt, knowing you'd be able to go and do that would be, you know, you'd be able to get full time with that, which for me would be a dream, really, to be honest. So I guess the point is, I don't necessarily care how much I don't care how big I get, I don't care how much I'm earning. If I'm able to go full time, for me that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's like I said, I think that's the actual proper, I mean, look, at the end of the day, anyone can have their own reasons or whatever, but I think that is like a genuine reason, whereas some people, yeah, like I said, there's some people that are in it for the wrong things. But like I said, at the end of the day, everyone can, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do, and there's nothing I can't tell them otherwise at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that is it for all of the questions. I wanted to give you a big thank you for coming on. It was kind of short notice, actually, so yeah, thanks for coming on.
No, that's all right. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. I will leave a link in the description to Split Screen's channel for any of you watching. This will probably be a premiere again, so I'll probably be in the chat, and I'll probably try and spam it in there as well. So everyone go check out Split Screen's channel. He definitely deserves more subs, so yeah, go and check him out, and please drop a sub. No worries, dude. But yeah, that is going to do it for this episode. So thank you all very much for watching. Again, thank you Split Screen for coming on, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Get me by my side, do you?